What's up, y'all? It's me, your boy Asmongold, and today we're going to look at how to solo 25-man heroic TOC, or TOGC, Trial of the Grand Crusader. Now, I kind of hesitate to say this is a guide because the amount of people who can do this is probably a very small amount, but I'm pretty much going to show you guys how I did it, and maybe you guys can do the same thing. This is really hard to do. This is really hard to do. Whenever you fight Gorm the Impaler, you have to always be running in circles because whenever the snowbolts throw fire bombs on you, they stack up and you can't allow yourself to get any stacks because if you do, then basically the stacks are going to overwhelm you. As you can see, that's fire on the ground. Do not run over that fire. Even though it's little damage, it ramps up over time and you might get stunned, and there's like a million other things that could happen to cause you to get a stack. Also, you cannot AoE down the snowbolts. You have to target them and kill them. The snowbolts that are on your back are hard to kill because you can't actually directly target them with spells. So that's a pain. As you can see, that I got some fire stacks there. Whenever the Jormungers pop up, you need to kill the Jormunger that's rooted into the ground at the start. I think his name is Asmongold. And basically the reason you have to kill him is the debuff that he puts on you basically will kill you. Okay, it will kill you, and the debuff that the fire guy puts on you cleanses the debuff that the acid guy puts on you. And so the acid guy has to die first, and if he doesn't, then he's going to keep the debuff on you, probably paralytic poison. And while Ice Howl is attacking you, you're just going to be stunned for about a minute. And there's going to be no way for you to get out of it. You can't like human trinket out of it. I don't know if you can use Paladin Bubble or not. But basically, as soon as you can stabilize and kill the snowbolts, it's pretty much downhill from here. There's not really a lot else you have to worry about. As you can see, the fire guy, the fire drummonger, also puts a debuff on you, but that debuff is no longer relevant. It does almost no damage, and the only thing you need to really worry about here is making sure that you don't die, which is pretty easy to do if you've lived up to this point anyway. Whenever you fight Ice Howl, he does a couple of abilities. If you're low on DPS, I would suggest to save your DPS cooldowns for whenever he does his headbutt. He does basically just a regular headbutt, which stuns you for like 4 seconds or something like that. As you can see there, it just happened. And he also does like an ice breath, and I was trying to run circles around him to see if I could somehow like get away from it. Oh, and he also knocks you back, but there's no real way you can get out of it. You can trinket out of this, and it will not refreeze you. And basically he'll stun you a couple times, and then he'll run to the middle of the room. And basically I'll explain that whenever it happens. And it's after he runs to the middle of the room, it's a lot easier. As you can see, then he runs to the middle, he'll knock you up in the air and stun you. And then he'll face in your direction. All you have to do is make sure that you're not in front of him. So at this point, I just run the fuck away from him because it's kind of bugged out, and it's been bugged out. And at this point, you just basically burn him down. I think he takes like 100% bonus damage. And so it's not even really a big deal to kill him at this point. Like, he's just going to die. As you can see there, I mean, even if, 25-man heroic grade boss still getting annihilated. And you might want to pick up those trophies of the Crusade because they do sell for 50 gold. And anyway, that was probably one of the more difficult fights for me, personally. I wiped on that a couple of times before I understood how the firebomb mechanic worked, which is, again, why you need to always be moving in a circle whenever you're fighting Gorm the Impaler. And you need to make sure you clear the snowballs out as quickly as possible. For Lord Jaraxxus, Lord Jaraxxus is a pretty easy fight. The things that can go wrong is that he has a buff that he stacks on himself called Nether Power, and there's 10 stacks of it, and basically it just makes him do more damage with his spells. And so the way I handle it is I only interrupt his Fell Bolts, which are the casted spells that he casts at you, and with 10 stacks of the Nether Power, he does 200% increased magic damage. And so on me, I received I think 102k hit, and so that's really a lot of damage, and it also applies a dot afterwards. So you really are going to be taking a lot of damage from this guy, and especially if you're not trying to control those ads. I actually put on my my healing trinket just in case, but I didn't really need it. Anyway, you just need to make sure that you're able to control the cast, and I wouldn't really interrupt any cast unless he's empowered with nether power. I tried to spell reflect the cast, and it didn't really seem to work. Lord Jaraxxus also summons two different types of ads. He summons Mistresses of Pain through nether portals, and he also summons infernals through volcanoes. Now, the portals spawn, and the portals actually have a health pool, which is different than from normal mode. And so as soon as the portal spawned, what I planned on doing is I was going to jump over there and kill it as fast as possible. Because if you kill it that fast, none of them spawn at all. And so for me, that was really easy for me. And as you can see, he just cast that on me. It did a significant amount of damage. I have about 750,000 health for, I guess like a way to compare. And as you can see, he's casting it again, but it just fell off, and so it did significantly less damage. But anyway, you just want to make sure that if the Mistresses of Pain do spawn, that you kill them immediately, so you can reduce your incoming damage, especially with the fell bolts coming in at you, and you just don't want to have way too much damage. There's another power debuff right there, and he'll probably cast one. I'm fairly certain that he'll cast one here. Yeah, here it is. You see, that did a significant amount of damage to me, and it leaves a dot that actually does the amount of damage that the entire cast does normally. And so you want to make sure that you're always able to, even if you don't, as you can see, I got hit again. Even if you don't have an interrupt, you're able to use a cooldown for it. And there's the volcano. And the volcano is significantly less dangerous, but basically you just need to kill the volcano. Now, we're going to cut ahead to faction champions, and by cut, I mean we're going to skip the parts where I die 1,000 times. Now, soloing faction champions on 25-man heroic, I could say it's like pulling teeth. I could say, like, I can't think of something that would be more frustrating and painful than doing this. It's so annoying. It'd be trying to play World of Warcraft on a train simulator controller. So basically what my strategy was I was going to go in there and I was going to kill one of them as soon as possible because I had enough DPS to kill them through the heals. And because of the incoming damage, I decided that I would focus on killing DPS rather than killing healers, because if I could lower the amount of incoming damage, I could stabilize myself and not die. As you can see here, I mean, I'm like close calls, I mean, would be such a fucking understatement. And it's very hard to CC these mobs because they instantly get out of any CC that you throw at them for the first time because they're programmed to act like an arena. And I try and charge over to him, and like the guy death grips me back and just like all kinds of bullshit. Like, in my opinion, I've done like a lot of like very high rated RPGs, and this is more challenging than doing a lot of those very high rated RPGs. And so, if you're trying to actually solo this, as I said before, this is, I guess, a guide, but it's mostly just me narrating through and saying how I did it, because, unless you're a warrior or whatever, you're really going to have a hell of a time doing this. As soon as I killed enough of them, I felt I was able to kind of stabilize, and as I see, I'm not like at 1% health the entire time. They also apply a lot of Mortal Strike debuffs. I think that the Warrior obviously applies a Mortal Strike, the Rogue applies a Mortal Strike, and the Hunter applies a Mortal Strike. And so you're pretty much always going to have your healing reduced, and so that's kind of a problem. I wouldn't really try and worry about stopping too many of the healers. And at this point, I'm trying to kill a DK, and that didn't really work out because he just kept getting spam healed. The healers are an option to kill at the start, but as I said before, I think if you're playing a tank class, like if I was playing a tank warrior, prot warrior, I don't know why I'm saying tank warrior, I would probably go for one of the healers first, because I don't have as much incoming damage and I can mitigate a lot more. I can mitigate a lot more damage, and so I'm not necessarily in the I don't know, risk of dying. All AoE effects on this fight are reduced significantly. The only reason I use Bladestorm is because it does do damage to all of them, and also whenever I do damage to all of them, the healers are programmed to always kill the always heal the pets. And so if you're able to damage the pets, the healer's programming will cause them to focus on healing the pets instead of sometimes healing actual targets. And so that kind of works out for me. As you can see, they're just kind of like putting heals into the cat, whereas, they're dying. And so, it's definitely kind of a little way to kind of take advantage of that. So as I said before, if you do have some AoE or whatever, it's like very high powered, short burst AoE like Blade Storm, you might want to use it a little bit just to kind of have their heals redirected to maybe the pets or something else that you're not killing. I would say after you kill about 3 or 4 of the faction champions, the fight's, that's it. It's mostly just killing like the first, second, third, and maybe fourth one. And after that, it's just all downhill from there. Especially if you're killing DPS, because the healers don't really do anything. They're not really dangerous to kill. And as you can see here, it's pretty much over at this point. But I think this took me about 5 tries to figure out. And I won by partially playing very well and coming up with an effective strategy to kill this boss, or set of bosses, I guess. But I won more by getting lucky. This is really hard to do. I would, not recommend anybody actually do this. Okay, as I said, I hesitate to call this a guide, but I guess we'll go with that. The next boss we're going to be fighting here is Twin val'kyrs. And the Twin val'kyrs are probably one of the easiest, probably the easiest boss in here, honestly. They don't really do anything, they just melee you. And you also get a damage buff to kill them. And so the things you need to watch out for with the Twin val'kyr is they cast 2 different abilities. They cast an AoE ability. One of them casts an AoE ability. And if you have the corresponding color of the, Dark Bane, if the Dark Bane casts the AoE ability, and you have the dark buff on, like I do have right now, obviously, if you click the dark portal, you get the dark buff. If you click the light portal, you get the light debuff. You will gain stacks, and the more stacks you have, whenever you reach 100 stacks, you deal 100% bonus damage to both of them. And so, obviously, you want to focus on that. And so, starting into the fight, you want to at least get one of the debuffs and focus on killing the one that is not the same debuff. So, if you're getting the black debuff or the dark debuff, like I am, you want to then get that debuff and then focus on killing Light Bane, because that's just the way the fight works, and you do more damage to the opposite one. They also cast an ability called Twins Pact, and that's basically just a heal, and you have to DPS through a shield. As you can see here, there's a shield went away, I interrupted the cast. Not really a big deal. I was just kind of chasing around these orbs because I wanted to see big numbers, but it's really not as worth it as you might think to try and go ahead and get that 100% damage buff, because you spend a lot of time running around trying to collect the orbs and not a lot of time DPSing the boss. But as you can see here, that was very, very easy for me to do. Not a problem at all. And I was able to kill them very easily. Now, Anub'arak, that guy was a motherfucker. Like, I was absolutely not happy about that. But I was actually able to kill him. And so I was happy about that. You guys could say. I don't know, it's kind of a weird way to put it, but I don't really have a way to really say it. It was just very difficult for me to do. But basically, the way I focused him, the way I did this fight is I started fighting him, and I broke a frost orb under him, and I popped on my cooldowns at the start to prevent him from going underground because I didn't know how I would handle the ads. And as soon as the ads came out, I focused on killing the ads as fast as possible. If you have the evil eye of Jaraxxus, your Blade Storm will be up at every time that the ads are up. Unfortunately, the ads put a debuff on you that increases the physical damage that you take. And so in order to actually kill these ads and stay alive, you have to kill them extremely quickly and hopefully CC them in one way or another. Maybe Shockwave or something like that. But I didn't really use it. I didn't think I needed it. But you might actually need it. And the reason I'm fighting him on the Frost Patch again is because the ads will try to submerge, and if they're on top of Frost Patch, they won't be able to. And basically, Anub'arak will also cast a stun on you, and the most deadly thing that he does is 30%, he'll cast Leeching Swarm, and here he is casting Leeching Swarm. And because he's casting Leeching Swarm on me here and the ads are up, I pop Die by the Sword to not take any stacks of the increased physical damage debuff. And then I just got stunned. As you can see, look at my health. Look at my health. See if you can even see a green speck here. Like this was ridiculously hard. But I managed to just barely fucking do it. And I was actually amazed that it even happened. As you can see, I mean, it was just right down to the fucking wire. And the ads were coming out. I mean, it was over in like 3 seconds, and I used all my cooldowns. I mean, this was definitely one of the hardest fights I've ever soloed. And as you can see, here they come. And it was just right down to it. So, if you're attempting this, good fucking luck. Because you're going to need it. That's pretty much all I got. So thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.